Today's video is brought to you by Vincero. Hey brother!
And welcome everyone to our first movie review of the year. Is that possible?
No, it can't. No, Onward?
Onward. That was fun. It's been that long since we've seen a new movie from Disney.
Like 6 months.
Yeah.
Compared to 2019, where we had like back-to-back massive finales to huge franchises, it feels good to get to talk about a new movie.
It sure does. This is going to be our our review of the live action Mulan.
Here we go. Hey, brother! Guys, before we dive on into the review today, we need to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Vincero. As you guys may know by now, Vincero has been a longtime supporter of the channel, and Jay and I are huge fans of the watches, literally wearing them on the daily. My current favorite watch from their lineup has got to be from their Outrider collection. I am personally wearing the matte black and gray version of it right now, and it's honestly just gorgeous. This rugged Explorer watch has kind of an industrial tactical styling that can be worn dressed up or down. And that idea of exploration actually fits really nicely with a new detail that I've just learned about this particular company, and that is that they are 100% carbon neutral, where they incorporate recycled materials not only into their packaging, but the products themselves in an effort to protect the environment. Guys, these watches look amazing. They hold up remarkably well. They come at a fair price and they're sustainably produced. I highly recommend you check them out and get an additional 15% off and free shipping when you go to vincerowatches.com/SCBSeptember. Again, that is 15% off and free shipping when you go to vincerowatches.com/SCBSeptember. Link is in the description down below. Man, okay, so much to unpack, like all the way down to even just the way that this particular movie was released, which in our lifetime is a first.
It is a first. So yeah, there's the movie itself, which we need to talk about, and then there's like the medium under which we consumed it.
Yes.
Yeah, like there's so Disney Plus, if you're unfamiliar with the situation surrounding Mulan, it was supposed to come out earlier this year.
Theater release.
Pre-COVID.
Yep.
Yeah, big theater, release. And instead, they decided to release it on Disney Plus.
But as a rental at the rate of...
Not a rental, you own it forever.
Oh, you do own it forever.
Yeah, it doesn't
okay.
expire. You'll have it.
I actually did not know that, which so I think it does
It's
help.
called a premium experience is what they're calling it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is better, because at the rate of $30, I had sticker shock at first when I heard it was going to be $30. I was like, that does feel steep. The thing that I think helped me walk down it a little bit was basically the idea that if you were to go to the movie theater and see this like with a small family, then it would not be uncommon for the movie tickets to accumulate to $30.
So yeah, that's the argument is if you went to the movies with a family of 4, snacks, popcorn, whatever, even without that, probably cost you more than $30.
Right.
Not that you couldn't have like a whole party or something come over and be like, hey, I just saw 20 people saw the movie for $30. That's,
Right, although maybe don't gather in groups of 20.
Yeah, also there's that problem. You could beat it that way, except if you could gather that way and just be at theaters,
you just be at theaters. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But either way, no, for me, my experience was kind of fun, I think. It was like coming downstairs this morning, having my cup of coffee, sitting down on my couch and watching a blockbuster movie by myself with my 2 dogs.
Yeah, it was that did feel weird. It was like it's the morning, like there are times when you and I will wake up and we'll go see a movie in the morning for like the second time at 11, 12. Maybe the first showing is not until 1. This was like 9 o'clock. I'm like sitting there. I'm like got my coffee. I'm like, all right, let's do it.
Let's go for it.
It was a different way to see like a blockbuster movie.
I think like last year in May, we would have gotten the live action Aladdin.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see box office, so to speak.
Right.
How this does.
I will be curious because a lot of what I've seen, at least, like I put on Twitter this morning, like who's watching Mulan today, and it looked like the general reaction was, I'll just wait until December. Like,
Right.
I'll just wait for it.
Because that is the other
part.
thing, is that it
Yeah.
will just be available with your Disney Plus subscription in December. So
Right.
maybe this video in December will get like a huge surge in views.
Yeah,
because
certainly we're going to reshare it, let me tell you. Set your reminder on December 4th. We're coming for you. That's
There
when the
you go.
movie... But that's the other part, is that, so you have to have the Disney Plus subscription and then also
Right.
do this. So even though it says $30, you're also paying for the rest of your subscription. It's like $36 in a way if you only wanted to see Mulan.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's a lot of stuff. The one thing that was not hyper applicable to this movie, but for us as people who make content about movies where we like to, analyze frames and stuff.
Yeah.
Having the pause button during your first viewing of such a big release was kind of neat.
I thought that too. I was like, at one point I had to go to the bathroom and I was like, it's kind of nice. I can just pause the movie and go. But then I'm like, how is this different from any other movie I just watch at home?
I don't know.
I know.
But it was different. It was different.
It was. And I don't know why. Maybe because it was like a new release. It's not like, I could just come downstairs on any given morning and turn on my Disney Plus and sit alone in my office and watch it.
Right.
And have not seen it before and just take advantage of the pause button. I don't know. It did feel different. It felt like more of an event.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
way.
there's anticipation.
Yeah.
I think versus a Disney movie that you may have been able to watch for years now, it is harder to have that moment of suspense that leads up to pressing play and getting to watch something so ridiculously big and brand new.
Right.
So anyway, so much unusually to talk about the manner in which we got to experience this movie. How about the movie itself? So sort of my overall take on the movie right out of the gate before we get into any of the nitty gritty details is that I quite liked it. I thought that it was straight up beautiful. I thought all of the cinematography, the colors, the costumes, it was super gorgeous compared to maybe The Lion King, which was effectively a live action-ish shot by shot remake of the animated, which almost left me wanting for the animated because
this is they're so similar.
They're so similar.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have enough creative liberties that come into play to where it's hey, the new live action format adds a little something else. With this, I would almost say that it wasn't the live action version of Mulan so much as a movie about the character Mulan that is inspired by the original animated classic. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah, it certainly wasn't a shot-for-shot recreation.
Lots of departures. Some of the same verbiage used here and there, where you're sort of oh, that's the line.
And there were scenes that were specifically recreated.
Yes,
Yeah.
but typically in different manners. I think sort of one scene in particular that stood out to me was the way that they did what is the song called in the original where they're all singing about what their perfect girl would be like.
Oh yeah,
I know. I can't believe I'm blanking on it. I just watched the animated Mulan last night, so to prepare for this.
A girl worth fighting for.
A girl worth fighting for, exactly. So they have that song, the meaning of it, the meat of that song, basically in a rubbing shoulders over, a meal conversation.
It kind of just it is introduced differently where all the guy she is still just freshly arrived at the camp.
Yes.
And all the guys are still just kind of slobs and stuff. And I feel when they sing the song, it's it's supposed to be oh, look at all these men valuing the wrong things about women. But it's sort of in this upbeat, cheery song. This is a little more
Right. Well, and that was a note that I actually wrote down and we can hop there and then hop back. But I thought one thing that was well executed is the acclamation of Mulan to the men's camp.
Yeah.
You felt it that much more, how she could have been a fish out of water in that particular situation where she walks into, instead of having her own little tent that's literally off to the corner, with Mushu and the cricket and her horse, it's she's in the tent with the guys whipping towels, you're
guard duty.
Right, yeah. Rather stereotypical, locker room scene almost a bit.
Yeah.
And then kind of hilariously, she's the one who smells.
Right, yeah, that was kind of funny.
Yeah, I thought all the people keep pointing it out to her. So anyway, I feel I jumped into a bit of nitty gritty detail after giving my overall reaction to the movie. Didn't hear yours. overall
I would say
reaction?
it sounds like I had a lower opinion than you did.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I think a lot of the changes they made from the original undercut the messaging itself.
Okay.
In some places. Where, like, so again, in the animated movie, probably my favorite part is when she climbs the pole.
Oh,
like,
right,
right. Does the whole thing with the medals and, like, slides up the pole and stuff.
Yep.
And it's like, see, she figured it out. You can't climb it the other way.
Right, like she basically took what is supposed to be a disadvantage, turned it into the advantage of being a mechanism to climb the pole.
Exactly.
Which proved that, like, brute strength wasn't as necessary as wit.
Right. But to me, like, that's what, like, the commander in the animated movie is he knows the secret is to do it the way she does it.
Sure.
And he's like, like, that's the lesson I'm teaching you, is that to be a good soldier, it's not just about being strong and being able to climb this pole with these weights. It's about being clever and thinking strategically. And, like, she figures it out, and you're like, see, she is a good soldier. It's not because of her, like, despite not being brute strength. Whereas in this one, that challenge is replaced by what looks absolutely impossible, by the way.
Yes. No. Oh my goodness. That was like when they're carrying, like, the buckets, like, straight arm out like that. I'm like, that is really having your mechanics worked against you and climbing a mountain at the same time, which literally I just went backpacking last weekend with a 40-pound pack on my shoulders for 30 miles. Yeah. And as I was watching that, I was like,
each of those buckets looked about 40 pounds. I don't know. Like go into your pantry right now, find 2 cans of Campbell's soup and see how long you can hold them like this.
Oh, I guarantee it is less than 8 minutes.
I guarantee. Yeah. Much less walking up the side of a mountain.
Right.
So at first I was like, oh, they got rid of the pole, which was really disheartening to me. But I was like, I'm curious to see what clever way she comes up with to carry the buckets.
To beat this challenge.
Because you're watching them do it and you're like, obviously that's impossible.
Sure.
And in the end, she doesn't do anything clever to beat it. She is just literally the strongest and makes it to the top. And I was like, that seems to me to really the point in the original is that there's a secret trick to it and you have to outsmart the challenge. And this one was like, no, I'm just stronger. And it was like, well, she's not, I don't know.
No, I understand where you're coming from completely. Like, I do think they even make it a point to say 4 ounces can move 1,000 pounds or something like that. Like, several times in the movie where they're specifically talking about the idea that I think you were describing. Yeah. Which, I guess in the animated, they do much more symbolically with the pole climb versus point blank just saying the sentence.
Well, they do it 3 times in the animated movie. And, like, I think they fail on all 3 versions of it in the live action remake. So they have the pole climb, which is 1. They have the shooting the firework, the missile at the avalanche, where she she doesn't fire it at them, she fires it at the environment. And then at the end where she uses the fan versus the sword. Right. So in all 3 of those situations, you have this nice little theme where she outsmarts the opponent. She's clever. It's I get it. Awesome. Right. Yeah.
So, so let me talk about the avalanche scene first, because that was... Because I actually thought that was overall, I thought it was a really cool scene.
She does still smart them and get behind them and trick them into firing on themselves.
Well, and the whole scene in particular, I think is it's a good demonstration, in my opinion, of visual storytelling where you sort of immediately based on the go into defense pattern and then they all sort of curl in and you can start to see that the strategy was to get them to do that very thing because they had planned to bring the catapults to basically launch at them. Right. And you're starting to just sort of see everybody's strategy work its way together. And then you've got Mulan who's racing through gathering all the helmets, which she then lines up.
Yeah, to look like she's larger than she is.
Yeah, exactly.
There's more of them.
So then all of a sudden, you've got the turret being turned around. And that was the big thing that I wondered about, because the avalanche scene, in my mind, is something that is very, very hard to recreate. It is almost not believable in the animated, even with the ability to draw scale accordingly and stuff, because of just how far that rocket travels. Yeah. It's well, that was quite some distance.
It's interesting to me that this happens sometimes in animated movies where, like, I didn't think the avalanche was nearly as impressive in this version as it was in the animated one. And maybe it's because you can, get what exactly perfect camera angles and make the avalanche bigger than life and stuff. But it's not like they had a real avalanche. They're still just animating it. I don't know. I didn't think the avalanche itself looked good. I also thought that them turning the catapult around was a little kind of like overkill. They didn't even come close to hitting them like where she is. I was like, this wasn't even why were you launching the catapult at what looks at best to be 6 people?
Right. Well, and I suppose that the perceived belief by, that army is that there are people like storming in from behind.
Maybe.
And so maybe it's supposed to be like attacking like a greater force. The fact that it misses like comically by so much is sort of like that element of like, well, you had to have the avalanche happen somehow.
That was the thing. It was like I could forgive it because obviously you can't not have the avalanche in Mulan if you're doing that.
And so, okay, then going on to the fan situation, because this was like one of the major departures from the animated series is that Mulan is a gifted warrior from a very young age.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
Really? Okay.
No.
Okay. So you preferred the situation where basically she was like, she literally was a fish out of water, had to go and like literally, prove herself because I think my argument for the live action in this situation would be that you have a character who is literally not being sent to war for literally all of the wrong reasons. Like, despite pure capability and fully capable of being out there in it, it's almost like this tradition is literally getting in the way of an obvious answer.
I did write that down. I said, I wrote this down, like, maybe the argument's that even when the choice is so obvious and you have a woman who is clearly the best choice, they're still not letting her do it because like, out of stubbornness and tradition.
Right, and effectively sending, her father to what is absolutely going to be his death. Because, the guy can't walk 15 feet across a courtyard, let alone go to battle and do all of these things.
But it just felt like, I don't know, like Mulan was special because she's special, rather than like through hard work and grit and like cleverness and stuff.
She has like natural born chi.
Right. Yeah, the natural born chi stuff, which also her natural born chi mostly seems like the ability to kick spears and arrows at the ground from midair.
Right. They did end up using the same skill quite a few times with that. But like I still think that there was like a rather big theme with this of like Mulan being true to herself. Like you see like 2 different kinds. I think this is well illustrated. Like 2 different kinds of like makeup, so to speak. And one of them is quite literally makeup in the beginning. Yeah. Which is just her not being who she is and, not being able to be herself in that skin. And then also like when she is under guise as like one of the men as a soldier. And it literally, I think what the kind of like the Dark Witch says is your deceit weakens you, poisons your chi. And it was almost like even wearing that, like still not being true to who you are, is holding you back right now.
That was like part of the whole underlying Phoenix theme, I think, which is why we have Mr. Bob here. I didn't know you were in the movie, Bob. You might have mentioned something.
Yeah. Okay. So what did you think? So basically, my interpretation was that Mr. Bob the Phoenix was effectively taking the role of Mushu. Yeah. For all intents and purposes. Right. Which that was sort of like a decision that it would have been very hard to implement, having, a comic relief sidekick mini dragon walking around.
For sure it would have.
And like this, what was otherwise like maybe a bit more serious toned movie. I love phoenixes. I love them like symbolically, and it would be easy to see where that was like a step from Mushu to something else. Yeah. But it was, I don't know that I completely got the points connected between the Phoenix being sort of like their family's, like symbol, like spirit symbol.
Well, there was, I don't know if you noticed, they had that set of stairs where she like breaks the statue of the Phoenix or whatever. Right. The other side is a dragon.
Oh, is it really? Yeah. Okay.
So maybe that was like a nod to Mushu or something.
A little bit, sure. Yeah. But yeah, like the Phoenix thing, like there's even this like big momentous moment that I thought looked beautiful, but was sort of undercut by sort of maybe the Phoenix's minimalized role otherwise. Like, it was more of a guide. It was like...
she showed her where to go.
Yeah, like she goes to war and she gets lost on her way there, is out of food, and all of a sudden the Phoenix arrives and basically is like, go this way.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you've got this big moment where she like stands up on the scaffolding and like the wings are like spread out behind her, which looked awesome.
It did look awesome.
It was super cool, but it was also like, well, like...
Yeah, like, but it didn't do anything.
It didn't do anything, and I wouldn't even say, at least on my first pass, I wouldn't even say that was her rise from the ashes moment.
Oh no, the rise from her ashes moment is when she has like the fight with the dark witch on the yellow volcanic ice or whatever.
Yeah.
What
Very
is that?
well described.
Yes.
That was volcanic ice, as far as I'm concerned.
Ice. You know how volcanoes are nice and cold?
Right.
And yellow?
Possibly sulfur in there as well.
Definitely. It was like...
I'm no geologist.
Geologist, but I don't know ice to freeze in hot places.
Right.
Often.
Right.
I did like that moment where she was like, Mulan herself is reborn from her like fake identity.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me touch on that really quick, because one of the notes that I wrote down, so you have like this really cool moment where she's like stripping off the armor and she's like coming back into the scene, and she's this like bright red symbol that like is sort of like coming, right into the fray. And like everything is sort of, dividing, and she's like storming through. All very, very cool. There is, when I was watching it on the first pass and she's getting ready to leave and you basically take her father's place, they don't have this moment where like the montage of her like strapping in. Yeah. And literally as I was watching it, I was like, oh, I would have loved like the gear up montage.
Oh my gosh, dude, I wrote that exact same thing down. The first scene I really liked was when they were doing the makeup and they do a little...
Yes!
I was like
the little like stop motion sort of...
Yeah.
Like whatever.
Yeah. Like I thought the movie could have first of all started right there. Like it could have started on that table and put all the makeup and, could have just started with her, flubbing the matchmaking ceremony or whatever. But then I was like, they so easily could have had that like girly makeup scene reflect her putting the armor on right away, which then would have also worked well for the rebirth where she just strips all the armor off.
Exactly. And so that was sort of the thing that I thought is like, if you had set it up earlier with her having like the big montage of putting on the, the armor makeup, so to speak, then it's that much more powerful, especially because they give you a little bit of a armor removal montage. Like as she's like riding in on the horse, you see like, this off, like cuffs, everything, and it's that's almost even cooler to me if you have it to begin with. Like you watch her strap in.
I agree. That would have been cool. Also, this is just a tiny complaint, but they just forewent the entire haircutting scene.
Oh, sure.
Which to me, that's like one of those just very iconic moments from the animated movie.
Right.
Where she like cuts the hair and she's like, all right, this is me choosing a new identity.
Right.
Like, this is the point of no return.
Like because she does it with the sword,
She does it with the sword.
Which is kind of even like, rough and gruff, like in terms of hair cutting.
Right.
Utensils.
Exactly. So
using a sword.
It feels, it's such a weird thing to skip was the leaving.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't understand why she's just sort of in the basement, and then it's like the next day and she's like, I'm gone.
Right. Okay, so the sword itself then, because that was one where, again, it was like an element that I'm not sure was maybe like as well executed, as well set up as I think it could have been. It wasn't bad, but like the sword is very clearly important, and like you get what actually I loved in the beginning is the scene where her dad is actually like using the sharpening stone, like the whetstone, to like sharpen the blade, and like they're having like the conversation about it, and the three symbols that are like kind of engraved into it, and then even when she gets to camp, you get that moment where the Commander Tung comes over, sees the sword, and like knows that it's like she's part of like a warrior family. Right. And, like recognizes it for what it's worth or whatever. But then like sort of, I guess, fast forward and everything, you get to the point at the end where it falls into like the molten whatever.
Yeah, whatever he was doing there.
Right. And it like melts away. And then like when she gets back, one of the big things, she's like, I know how much you loved that sword. And it was like, well, he needed the sword when he was a warrior, but like it wasn't something where I felt like it was extraordinarily well, like, oh man, like the sword, not the sword.
Yeah, it didn't feel like the death of the sword didn't feel as emotional as it could have.
Right. Like,
it also felt into fire, which I thought was going to be like, oh, she's going to like pull it out or something.
Oh, that would have been sweet.
Like, that was like part of the Phoenix thing. It's like, the sword is reborn. And she does get a new sword.
She does get a new sword.
And I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, was the new sword, I thought, modeled after the sword from the animated movie. It looked the same as the one she takes.
I got the same vibe from it, but I was not hit square in the teeth with it.
Okay.
So that may be the case, but I would need a second pass to further confirm that.
That was like I was like, oh, I see what they did. That was fun. But yeah, maybe it's not exactly, but it looked like that big long green sword.
Right.
She has.
Yeah, like almost like jade.
Yeah, the jade.
Yeah.
Jade.
Let me see what else I've got here. Okay, so the other thing that is a departure from the original, and tell me how you felt about it, because I thought there was some good nuance here, was the relationship with, hopefully I get this right, Hong Hui.
Yeah, just like her romantic interest.
The romantic interest.
Romantic, even.
Right. Yeah. Well, so that was the thing, was you have this relationship that, like, progressive thinking, I guess, but like I felt like it was forming while they were still in the camp.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Like, so it was almost, like, even from, his perspective, it seemed like there was something going on even before it was, confirmed anything else.
Well, they had one scene where she's like just finishing putting on her like cover up in the morning. He sort of like is like staring over.
Right.
I wasn't sure if that was supposed to signify like he's suspicious of this.
That wasn't like totally my takeaway so much as like more of an observation of, because it almost looks like what you see is from her perspective, like putting on like, like the leather strap that she's using to sort of like conceal herself.
Yeah.
But then like more from his, what you see is just like
someone getting up early.
Yeah,
so I thought it could go either way. I wasn't sure if they were trying to like show that he was like tipped off.
Right.
Or if he was just like building admiration, like, man, look at this guy.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was sort of like an interestingly like set up scenario where maybe it's just like two people that clearly connect just regardless of circumstances.
Right.
Which I thought that was kind of neat. Mm-hmm. But then even taking that one step further, there is the moment with Commander Tung, who by the way is he is the guy from Star Wars Rogue One. It's the blind guy from Rogue One. Yeah, the Force is with me.
I can't remember his name in that movie either.
I know. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that wasn't a good like draw your attention to something. But there's the moment where basically I think like they're really starting to demonstrate the importance of, like the three core characteristics of, being in this army.
Right.
And one of them, I guess, is being true.
Yeah.
And I guess obviously she's feeling like the sort of sense of guilt about that, like, and wants to go and confess, and he believes that she's just there basically like trying to say like I'm afraid, and him being
right.
like,
He's like,
that's a testament to your honesty, not to anything else. But you had the moment where basically he's like, I would like to submit that you be placed in circumstance for matchmaking with like my daughter.
Right.
Which I would imagine, obviously like circumstances being appropriate for it would be like a rather significant honor.
Well, I think he says that and she immediately is like, oh gosh, I can't reveal my thing right now.
Right.
That was too grand a gesture.
Yeah. So I felt like that was another one of those like very neatly complicated situations to almost like just watch unfold, where like even Mulan is able to like fully recognize, maybe in this like traditional sense, the power behind that sentiment.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I thought that was interesting to see play out.
Well, she certainly still understands like the power of the traditions and stuff.
Right.
But obviously that's also sort of what she's fighting.
Okay. So another thing that we can bring up is that we were sort of introduced to a version of Mulan that had a bit more like witchcraft going on.
For sure.
Obviously, the Qi, rather significant element. And we sort of have, I guess, effectively like Mulan's like antithesis,
Darth Vader. Yes.
Darth Vader, yes. Is that what you're calling?
I am going to call the Dark Witch in this movie Darth Vader because she was so similar to the point where she literally, I mean, she has a moment where she's like, join me, together we'll be the most powerful. And then she literally says, it's too late for me. I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, it's too late for me, son.
Right.
Okay, you're just, okay. That was pretty Darth Vader. And then she dies saving Mulan. I was like, okay, I get it.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
So that was like a character arc that basically I just didn't think went far enough. You know, like you basically see her kind of seem like she's like serving the villains.
Yeah.
But like maybe in a way where it's like it's definitely not built on respect, but she also sees it as like the path to power. But like it doesn't really seem like she's actively like evil so much as she's just sort of like,
she's just sort of my lot in life.
Exactly.
Yeah. The relationship between the two, or the Dark Witch and our main bad guy. God, I can't remember anyone's names.
I know. One pass. We got it. Yeah, we got more time spent with it.
I know. It was weird because it just seemed to me like he obviously didn't respect her, and she was clearly the more powerful person.
Right.
It was very much like, why aren't you just doing it yourself?
Sure.
Like, and I guess there is a scene where all the men in his, inner circle are like, we can't trust the witch, and they don't like her. But I feel like she could have made them, just like controlled them out of fear.
Yes.
Maybe that's not what she wanted to do, but it just seemed to me like clearly doing all this dark magic and stuff was already against like the law, or like using chi against other people.
Which I thought that was surprising to me. It's like, that's a hard thing to enforce.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Because it seems like those people would be the people of power, and it would be hard to like then suppress it, I guess.
Which, by the way, the Emperor later does. But anyway, it seems like she was okay with breaking those laws and doing all these dark magics, but not okay with breaking like the gender roles, which was curious to me. She's like, oh, I can do all these crazy things, but that still doesn't mean I can break this.
Well, and I mean, maybe that's part of the idea behind it, is that it's supposed to just be so like innately ingrained into the culture.
Sure.
That like it's hard to comprehend how hard it would be to get past something that has been such a core belief of everybody. Yeah. But that being said, just from a movie standpoint, like a narrative standpoint, so the villain's name is Bori Khan. And he leads the Roarin, I guess, army.
The Roarin army.
He is a character, though, that I am not absolutely sure is essential to the movie, when you could have just had, like, the Dark Witch just be the leader of that same army. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Like, did you feel like we needed the big villain to basically be like the live action version of the villain from the animated movie?
Yeah. I don't know. I wasn't sure, because it didn't seem like he was doing a whole lot. And he never really demonstrated his battle prowess.
Oh, he caught an arrow and then shot it back.
That's true.
But he didn't hit anybody when he shot it back.
That's true too. Yeah, he catches the arrow, which sets up sort of the ending. But yeah, it seems like there's literally one point where they're staring off at the next garrison, and he's like, take the garrison or whatever.
Right.
And then they have a whole scene where she, Solo, takes the whole place down.
Right.
And then they all just ride in. And it's just like, what makes you the leader? You need to have either some sort of magic yourself, or I don't know. It didn't seem like he was like strong enough or something to be the leader.
So yeah, and I think ultimately that's what it comes down to for me. Is I think that what I would have liked was a situation where, like, inside of the core beliefs and values and traditions of, like, this culture and people, I feel like what you were supposed to see was Mulan breaking molds and being able to like pioneer new paths and new ways of thinking, mm-hmm. while there still being like a way to retain the good parts of that culture.
Right.
So it's part of how, these people live and all that. And I feel like what I would have loved to have seen is basically like Mulan be the person who upholds all of the good values while also being that pioneer.
Right.
And I think that the Dark Witch was, in my mind, supposed to be like the opposite of that. Like, the person who came in and was just going to like tear the world apart,
right.
and try to seize leadership because, it was because she was basically thrown from society, I guess.
Right.
So in my mind, I feel like they should have been the mirrors of one another. Like, they're both the highly proficient in, and the chi. And
I think that's what they were going for, though.
Well, I think that's what they're going for, but then even at the end, like she's sitting there on the throne, and this happened in several conversations throughout the movie. There would be like an argument where somebody would come in and then and basically declare like an idea that goes against every other thing that they have basically believed that either their entire life or for the whole movie at least, and then just like very quickly change their mind. Like Mulan walks in, they're having this conversation, and she's like, no, like help me, like we have, like this is what we need to do, and she's like, all right. And then she does it, and then she sacrifices herself, and that's the end of it.
Right.
But you don't really have like that build up to the really big moment where maybe even you get to see like the chi in its full form, basically like Mulan light versus Dark Witch dark.
Oh, I thought for sure Mulan was going to turn into the Phoenix at some point, Because the Dark Witch is just flying around as a hawk, as another bird, the whole movie.
Yep.
I was like, I'm just waiting for the moment where Mulan's chi hits power level 10 and she can also transform into a bird.
Especially when you have that first battle where, effectively she just gets destroyed, and nearly killed. It absolutely felt like they were building it up for like the redemption battle. You're the one who taught me to be myself, but you're not going to be happy you did.
Smart. Smart. So, I mean, I guess they then had this problem if they wanted to have this redemptive character in the Dark Witch who was clearly, her chi was like way beyond Mulan's, even at the end. And it was like, if they turn her good, then she's just the more powerful one. But
if you have her turn to be good and survive, then she sort of outpaces Mulan in terms of ability.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Which seems like then she's just the one who should be the one fighting big bad guy at the end.
Big bad guy whose name I have right here.
Yeah.
Boricon. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess they had to find a way to get her out of the way without that was the thing, I guess. Either they didn't make Mulan powerful enough to beat her at the end in a chi fight.
Right.
But then if they had her turn good, then she should just be the one fighting the bad guy. So they had this problem of we need to get her out of the way. So she will turn good in the act of sacrifice.
Yes, which I love. I mean, I think that always can make for a really great moment, especially if your protagonist's back is against the wall, and what it takes is the decision of use of power while simultaneous sacrifice to effectively have a big emotional scene where you are drawn into that sacrifice. But instead, I mean, this was so much more and not quite back against the wall, but a arrow that was going to hit Mulan, basically. It's just in the air.
Yeah.
And, she flies in, blocks it, Mulan sort of catches her out of the air, and then she dies, and then Mulan just goes forward.
Right.
And I think what's lost with that is the impact of the turn and the sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because, you're not really
they don't revisit that character again.
At all.
At all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that would have been the other thing, would almost even having had this moment somewhere at the end where the Phoenix flits through the air and the hawk is in flight with it.
Yeah.
Could have been a cool way to see it. Just be oh.
Or if the Phoenix had truly arisen out of her or something.
Sure.
Instead of, I mean, I guess the Phoenix does come up behind her pretty soon after, but you've already met the Phoenix a few times, so
yes,
it's definitely not. If that's her, that wasn't my takeaway.
Sure.
Yeah. And she doesn't do anything. It just...
Okay, so...
Do you think other people could see the Phoenix?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I wondered the same thing.
Because he just looks at her, if I saw the giant wings, I'd be like, problem.
Right. No, so that could have been a cool thing. Would almost be if the Phoenix if she wasn't seeing the Phoenix the whole time, but it was nudging her, it kept it almost unbeknownst to her was sort of shooting through the screen or something. And then at the end, once she, has risen, so to speak,
right,
then she sees it full force and
right.
It's one with her. And that would have been a cool way to do it as well, instead of her being so kind of used to it, having developed a somewhat relationship with it.
Yeah.
Where do you land on it? So did you, it sounds like maybe you did not like the movie.
I mean, I didn't not enjoy it, but there weren't a lot of points where I got where I felt really emotional or super attached to the characters. When I watched the animated one and she climbs the pole, it makes me almost well up. I think it's so cool.
Sure.
And this one, I rarely was oh, or feel this I don't know, swelling of emotion. There were a few times it was almost always accompanied by the use of the soundtrack.
Okay.
Which I thought they did really good. I liked the the nods to the old music and stuff. And maybe that was it. Maybe it's just like manipulating my nostalgia to be like, oh yeah, let's go.
Right,
Whoa.
yeah.
Which, even so, whatever. That's fine. You can do that.
Right.
I did think they made a good use of like there was a lot of like reflection and stuff just in unique places. Like obviously they did a lot of it in the sword, but then when she finds that pool to go bathe in, she's like, there's the big reflection between her and the sky, just in the lake, which I guess is constantly supposed to be like reflecting who she really is.
Right.
Which was nice. And then one of the scenes I really liked, and it was very brief, it was the scene the night before the battle where they're all just sort of sitting around the campfire.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one, that was when I felt like I really connected with all the characters the most.
Right.
When like you're sitting there and they've sort of been like presented as these like slobby, soldier guys who are just kind of macho and stuff. But like this was that moment of, no, they're all still just people and they're also victims of this like draft.
Yeah,
Like they're here and they are like afraid and like they were all being a little bit more vulnerable right there. I was like, yeah, okay, this feels very real. Like I don't want them to die.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. No, I thought that was a good scene. And it was even cool in that moment to like sort of see Mulan step up again as like a leader amongst them.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool and like made sense like why they would even ultimately follow her into battle later.
Right.
Because like not only has she, demonstrated as, like an equal, but like she's literally like, she's like leading the charge.
Well,
there.
she like tells them, I think in that moment, like, because I will protect you. I think she follows it up with like, we'll protect each other or something. But
right.
Like, she says that. And then later when in that narrow hallway, they're like, we'll protect you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that was a nice little.
Okay. That being said, one of the characters out of like the group that like is like her core, like folk.
Yeah. Friend group.
Yeah. Is Cricket.
I wrote down Cricket. Ha. I get it. He's like, oh, my grandmother calls me lucky. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Okay.
Oh, I know who you're supposed to be.
I know who you're supposed to be.
No, I liked Cricket. I thought he was adorable, actually.
He was adorable. He just keeps surviving horrible things.
Yes.
In like a lucky way. In like a very subtle way, too. It's not like...
Yeah, no, it's like, I think there's one point in time like where the avalanche is coming or something and like the cart gets shot up in the air and like lands on him. But like it lands like just barely so he can like sort of be like lifted out from underneath it.
Yeah.
And then at the end, there's like the moment where you think he's like dead against the wall and he's got like the arrows like that are just in his satchel, but like they look like they're sticking out of him. And he's like, hey guys.
But still good.
There was one thing that I thought was particularly interesting, and I don't know if this was supposed to be the luck continued or just like an unusual trait of that particular warrior was his archery abilities.
Yeah.
There's this like one moment at the end where they have him like go behind the back and shoot two arrows, and it was like, what?
I was like, well, that was insanely cool. It felt a little unearned, but I'm okay with it.
Like there was that one time you shot that dummy first. So.
Yeah, so
I'm with you.
Now a master trick shot archer in the middle of battle. Yeah, that scene was cool. I was like, whoa, where did that come from?
Right. Yeah. I thought that was fun. So I liked the character of Cricket. Oh my gosh! Other thing, I'm sorry. Did your jaw hit the floor a little bit when Ming-Na Wen walks out?
Yes, I was like, oh wait, is that? Oh my god, yeah. Yay!
I know. That was like, so of course, in case you were unaware, Ming-Na Wen is the one who introduces at the end, like after the whole like big battle, Mulan to the Emperor or like announces her arrival or whatever.
Yeah.
But was also the original voice of
the animated Mulan.
Yeah. So when she was on screen, it was like, yes!
Yeah.
Yes!
It caught me so off guard. I was like, was that her? Wait, what? Yeah. Because she also has like face paint on and stuff.
Right.
I was like, was it, huh? Was that, am I crazy? That was her, right? Yes.
Yeah.
That was very cool.
It was very cool.
I was like, I'm glad they had that little Easter egg in there.
Yes. Yeah. It was. I thought it was the perfect amount of nod. It was kind of like, oh, how cool.
This little. Here's Mulan. Like because she's like presenting her.
Yes.
Like passing the torch a little.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That was cool.
Okay. So score time.
Okay. Are we doing what? How do we score things on this?
On this channel, we alternate.
Out of 100.
We do it almost every other time differently.
Okay.
So out of 100.
Out of 100.
This time.
Okay. What I wrote down then was I gave it a 49.
Whoa! Wow.
Lower than you expected. It sounds like.
That is lower than I expected. I think that I was probably more like in 74 range.
Still lower than maybe I would have expected based on what you were saying.
No, well, I mean, so I think like with anything, this almost always happens. I feel like when we do reviews is that like when we really like something, we're highly critical of it. And when we don't like something, we talk about all the stuff we loved.
Yeah.
And so I think that there was maybe for me a mixed bag of those in there where there was a lot of stuff that like I would say that I was pretty well captivated by the movie.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was paced quickly and like it was sort of like, okay, and now we're here, and now we're here, and now we're here.
It does go by.
Yeah, like, and so it wasn't like I was sitting there just like, oh my gosh, like, come on, get on with it. But I think I would even be swayed by you a little bit where there were details that like maybe on my first pass, I was like, that's kind of cool, until you're kind of like, well, but you know, this. And so it was interesting hearing your critique of it. And I was like,
I will say you've also swayed me a little more positive. Maybe I'm a little higher than my initial 49.
Okay. I'll take it. I'll take a 53 all day.
We'll go 55.
Yeah, nice.
We'll go 55.
Nice. Oh my gosh. Guys, what did you think about it? As of right now, I have not seen any reviews whatsoever. So maybe I just gave a glowing review to a movie that has been perceived negatively, or maybe...
Ben, maybe you're making the perceptions.
Maybe I'm making the perceptions. Could that happen?
I don't know.
Kind of fun to think about.
I don't know.
Anyway, guys, I want to know what you guys thought.
Yes.
Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were there things that were like so spectacular? What was your favorite part? What was your least favorite part? Really just any thoughts that you have at all. I think we should have just a good quality discussion in the comment section down below.
Did you have a favorite part? I think my favorite part is like when she's riding back to the fight and they've got the music swelling and all the armor's coming off. That like Mulan Reborn. Kinda.
Yeah. It's hard for it to not be that. I mean, I thought that was a really cool shot. And there's even like this like cool aerial shot of her like shooting into it and like everybody's like sort of parting like as she like tears back into battle. Really, I think I enjoyed the relationship with, hold on, I have it here. Hung Hui. I thought it was cool.
I liked the way they like ended that like arc in the movie where like I wasn't like he kind of approaches her on the bridge, she's leaving the Imperial City.
Right.
And I was like, oh boy, are they gonna go for like some big romantic kiss here, or what are we doing? And I was gonna be kind of disappointed if they did, but they did not.
They did not. If anything, I think that they did a good job here of making the very small physical gesture between them, which was barely a handshake, feel meaningful.
Right.
Because it was almost like for Mulan, it felt like that was big. You know, like that felt like...
Yeah, she like barely touches his hand.
Right, right. So I think that was well executed.
I agree. Thought it was well executed.
There you go. All right, last question for you though.
Okay.
Do you have any predictions about, this is not really related to the like plot of the movie, but predictions on how this will do comparatively on like a box office standpoint?
Ooh, probably not great is my guess.
Okay.
I mean, I think a lot of people are just going to be willing to wait for it to come out, but I think Mulan also exists with this like handful of other movies in this weird in-between zone, which is finished production and then COVID happened before their release date.
Right.
You know, there's a bunch of movies like that, but like there's only like maybe 6 or 7 big blockbuster movies that fell into this category.
Right.
Like Black Widow's one of them, Mulan's one of them. Onward just barely skated by. Soul is one of them.
Pixar.
Yeah, from Pixar coming out. It does put those studios in this weird position of having spent money
to produce something
they assumed was going to be released in a certain way.
Right.
And then we're not able to release it in that way. So it's like, I don't think this will set some sort of precedent for things that are released exclusively on Disney Plus. It just feels like the solution for this one problem.
Right.
Or I hope it doesn't set a precedent, because I can't imagine, because movies come out that are made for Disney Plus all the time.
Right.
You know, like.
Well, so that was going to be my question though. Would there be a situation where you enjoyed the at-home blockbuster experience enough to where you would want the opportunity to do that? Like instead of going to a big movie theater, or do you think that the movie theater experience is such a positive one for you that you would want to be able to like preserve that like kind of nostalgia?
Well, if they're going to do something like that, I think I can see them doing something where they release it on Disney Plus for a premium experience on the same day as it comes out in theaters.
So they give you the option.
Like, so you could do either.
Sure.
But that seems like if they want to do that, like then you don't really have like then if you want to pay the $30 price tag to watch it at home, that's up to you. But
Right.
you could also go to the movie theater.
Yeah. So anyway, it'll just be curious to see. I personally think as of right now, even though I did enjoy being able to sit on my couch and drink my coffee and watch the movie, I still think that I just love going to the theater. I love getting popcorn.
Yeah.
The whole 9 yards.
I would have rather gone to the movies.
Okay. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
For
Good
sure.
to know. Good to know.
I'm curious to see how this affects the release of big movies on streaming platforms. Because this is the thing everyone will point to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess Trolls sort of did this as well.
It's a case study.
It's a case study.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
And guys, again, I need to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Vincero Watches. Jay and I were both wearing the Outrider collection today. I was personally wearing the matte black and gray version of it, and he was wearing the Gold Army version of it. They really do look amazing, and they come at a fantastic price. And if you guys want to get an additional 15% off and free shipping on your order, you can do so by going to vincerowatches.com/SCB September. Again, that is vincerowatches.com/SCB September for 15% off and free shipping. Link in the description down below. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, we want to hear all of your thoughts on Mulan. We want to hear your thoughts on what it was like having an at-home movie release. So just let us know everything down below.
Yeah. If you want to see why Mulan is the best Disney princess, you can check out this this video right here. But until next time, bye!